But who was the man who actually strongly recommended Shimla to be used as retreat? Anglo-Gurkha War was over in 1816 in the month of January. Gurkhas had suffered complete defeat from the British Army, and the Treaty of Seguli had been signed, and the British had agreed to employ them, and Gurkhas agreed to join them. After the war, one British officer who was based at Sabathu cantonment, that is 53 kilometers down the hill from Shimla, he was ordered to lead a Gurkha troop and leave them at Kotgarh, that is about 82 kilometers beyond Shimla, to the slightly northeastern direction. Well, in those days there were no roads, and people were confined only to the forested trails. They could be steep uphill or steep downhill. And in one day they couldn't cover that distance of more than 15 or 18 kilometers. And by the evening, they had to look for a place for night halt. This group, 80 Gurkhas and the Englishman, their leader, one day they happened to reach a village that was located on the southern slope of a ridge. The Englishman loved the location of the village, and he asked somebody, "What is the name of this place?" Shimla. That is what he was told. He decided to stay there for a night, and he pitched his tent near the village. The location of his tent was present day's mosque in Lower Bazaar, that is just close to the Combermere water stream. He spent the night, and that was the month of May. He loved the atmosphere. Next morning, he came out with his mug of coffee in his hand and occupied a chair outside his tent. And the whole village came out to see him, because they had never seen a Gora man, a Gora Sahib, in their vicinity. They wanted to speak to him. He also wanted to talk to them. But they could not communicate. Language was the barrier. Well, he spent a couple of days there. Although he had the orders to leave the Gurkha troop as soon as possible and come back, but he loved the climate of this place so much, he decided to spend some time there. He led the Gurkha troop, left them at Kotgarh, and returned to stay at Shimla. Sometimes he walked to present day's Chauda Maidan, where Hotel Cecil is located, or beyond that. Sometimes he walked to New Shimla side, present day's New Shimla, where Bishop Cotton School is there. Sometimes he walked to the present day's Radisson Hotel side, or sometimes to some other direction. In those days, the area was full of forest, and these forests were full of hyenas, bears and leopards. But he didn't care. He loved the climate, he loved the place, he loved the forest. Something was going on in his he was going to leave a mark of his presence in this area. In those days, Shimla village was like any other village in the hills. It had not started receiving any recognition till then. Well, after a few days, he had to go back. And when he went down to the plains, he talked a lot about this place to his officers. His officers asked him, "What have you liked so much in this area that you're talking so much about this place?" He said, "The climate of that village that is located on the southern slope of a ridge resembles Scotland." That rang the bell. Then what do you want? What is your suggestion? He was asked. He said you must do to set up some army posts in these hills and use that place as your retreat. His suggestion was ignored for a couple of years. But after 3 years, in 1819, Assistant Superintendent of Punjab Hill States was sent here. His name was Lieutenant Ross. Ross set up a temporary cottage for him. He was followed by Captain Kennedy, and after arrival of Captain Kennedy, Shimla never looked back. But who was the man who actually strongly recommended Shimla to be used as a retreat? Unfortunately, his name is not mentioned anywhere in the history. His descendants must be there somewhere in this world. We don't know who was he, and we also don't know where was he from. We are thankful to this unknown guest who arrived here 200 years ago and then sowed the seed of a tree that has become Shimla now. When we talk about the history of the town, we miss this man. He is definitely hidden somewhere in the memories of the history of this place.